And we are live. Welcome back to the live stream. We're just getting started off here. This is day 3, starting the stream from scratch, never streamed before. Been improving over the past few days, obviously tweaking out audio settings, video settings, figured out how to get the heads-up display. And here we are on the ground in Toronto. Little Vatsim event happening right now between Montreal and a few airports. So without further ado, let's get the aircraft on. Let's get a bit of lights on in here. There we go. Aduru on. Emergency lights armed. Window heat. Let's bring on the air. Get all this ready. Some lights on. The rest we will deal later. Get that coffee in. Some more lights on. So I have the system set up in this aircraft so that everything powers up faster, so we don't need to wait. Typically, it takes a bit more time for the systems to come online. Get the radios on here. And there we go. Let's make contact. Let's get some lights on into the aircraft. Whoops, airplane. Cabin controls. At night, you don't want it too bright back there. This should do just fine. Get a bit of lights on here. Excellent. So we did get a flight plan from SimBrief. So we'll be flying Toronto, Montreal, flight level 330. Be doing most likely the dead key departure, Miglu, Have 7 arrival. It's a very short flight. We're still testing up the set out here. We'll be having 320 passengers on board today. We have the map set up on Navigraph. So here we go. This is what it's going to look like. We are currently on the ground here in Toronto. So without further ado, let's get the show on the road here. We need to make contact with the purser in this Flight Factor aircraft. So let's get that happening.
This is the captain. Good day.
Hello, sir.
Excellent. So now let's get on the phone with ground. We also need to be speaking to them. Let's just end the call with the purser for now. We just wanted to say hi. Ground crew, I have to ring them up, otherwise we can't really get a pushback going later or get any of the hatches closed. Takes a while to pick
Good
up.
day. Hope you are all doing well today.
Hi, Captain. Hear you loud and clear.
Excellent. Oh, who's calling? I'm not too sure. Alright, so this aircraft really has a lot of situations modeled out here. You can pretty much have this set up from A to Z. But if you want to just get a few easy flights done quickly, you can get the data from SimBrief, load that directly into the flight. And then you can use the simplified loading tool, fill from SimBrief, and then load the aircraft.
They brought a new load sheet.
First officer hands you this loading sheet, which you can clip right here. Excellent. So let's start getting the box all set up here before asking for clearance. We got the ATIS earlier. It was Romeo. Maybe still active. Grab the GPS position. Put that right into there. Reference airport, Toronto. The gate is inoperative. CYYZ. Destination, Montreal. We'll be flying Air Canada 11 today. And the runway will leave it blank. We are not quite sure of that right now. Let's get the performance in. Takeoff weight, 468.9 thousand kilograms. The reserves, that was up here on the sheet, 5.7. We can round this up to 5.8. 5.8. 5.8. 5.8. 5.8. 5.8. 5.8. 5.8. 5.8. 5.8. 5.8. 5.8. 5.8. 5.8. 5.8. 5.8. 5.8. 5.8. 5.8. 5.8. 5.8. 5.8. 5.8. 5.8. 5.8. 5.8. 5.8. 5.8. 5.8. 5.8. 5.8. 5.8. 5.8. 5.8. 5.8. 5.8. 5.8. 5.8. 5.8. 5.8. 5.8. 5.8. 5.8. 5.8. 5.8. 5.8. 5.8. 5.8. 5.8. 5.8. 5.8. 5.8. 5.8. 5.8. 5.8. 5.8. 5.8. 5.8. 5.8. 5.8. 5.8. 5.8. 5.8. 5.8. 5.8. 5.8. 5.8. 5.8. 5.8. 5.8. 5.8. 5.8. 5.8. 5.8. 5.8. 5.8. 5.8. our cruising altitude today, 330. Flight level 330. At a cost index of 29. Fantastic. We do have our takeoff performance calculated to speed things up. So we'll be derating the takeoff to 2. For cell temperature, 42. Takeoff, we'll be running flaps 5. I mean, this is all based off of runway 23, which I do believe is the starting runway, according to the ATIS. The CG, center of gravity, you can find that here under Mach, 27.7. Round that to the nearest unit, 28. Excellent. So the speeds don't come up just yet because we don't really have anything else programmed. We'll put in the wind though. That was 260 at 06. Excellent. Outside temperature, 01. Great. So we're ready. Let's get on the radios here with ATC. And we'll get further clearance. So who's online right now? Let's go to 119.3. 119.3. I know you can't see it. I have the Logitech radio channel, so 119.3. Here we go. Let's have a talk here. Air Canada 11 Heavy, mic check.
Air Canada 11, confirm Pearson, you should be on the CTAL for 18.7.
I'm sorry, 118.7?
Yes, 1187. We're gonna go Fox.
I think he said
1990. What's the slowest?
Okay, 118.7. Hello, Toronto, Pearson Tower, Canada 11 Heavy with you. You copy. Okay. I'm not quite sure what he said. Maybe this is uncontrolled right now, and we'll just be speaking to tower. Basically, Unicom tower. So, let's get... I'm actually not 100% sure. Let's go back here.
Enough Zulu via Delta Whiskey Tango Foxtrot for the Arnav 30.
Number 112 Papa Juliet, Hamilton wind 050 at 2, cleared low approach runway 30.
Cleared low approach 30, November 112 Papa Juliet.
Toronto approach, Air Canada 11 Heavy. Sorry, I just tuned back in. I just want to be crystal clear on the instructions here. Basically, we're running Unicom on the tower frequency. Is that correct?
Air Canada 11, it's not a Unicom anymore because of the CTAP trial. It's a CTAP, but it is on the tower frequency 1187.
Roger. All right. Well, then that explains it. So we'll just run what we got off of the flight plan here. So let's bring the box back up. It was the Dead Key 5 departure. Make low transition. Runway 23. I was just a bit confused because really most of the time, if there's a controller online, they're going to give you your clearance, even if they're terminal or center or what have you. So here we go. We got the route set up. We're going to activate that. And very simple.
112 Papa Jet, we're going to miss now.
Do we have
Remember,
any clearance at all?
112 Papa Juliet.
From Midley, we go
Roger.
straight into the arrival. So, arrival in Montreal. We had the HAB 7 arrival. Midley transition. And in the box we have 24, right? We'll see what ATC gives us as we get closer. Very good. So now
I will need a minute for that.
I'll look at the legs page. Lona is the beginning of the ILS. Makes sense. So we're looking good, actually. I like to just cross-reference this with what we have in the box here. So we'll be flying the vector, and then we'll be turning around. Excellent. So let's keep that like that. Let's have a quick look at the departure. So here we go. Runway 23. Unless otherwise on climb heading 237. Climb to this. We'll all have this in the box. We'll just double check. Climb right turn heading 245 or assign expect radar vectors to Saver or assigned by ITC. Okay. Maintain 5,000. Excellent. So we are good. And as we can see here, 237, everything seems to be in the box. We can go ahead and align that. Perfect. Altitude 5,000. Perfect. So let's just bring this back. Let's just finish up what we had here. We had already put in the wind, so we got our speeds now. Excellent. We can close this. I like to run the takeoff performance on the first officer side. Just bring this up, and then I like to run the legs page on this side, and then we'll switch over to the progress later on. Perfect. So I think we're all good. We'll set initial climb speed 250, noise abatement. So that looks like it's all set up here. So we're good in the box. We're good everywhere. We're ready to lock up the cockpit. No smoking signs, seatbelt signs on. Let's start powering up the APU. The rest looks good. Bring up the stat page. Get the progress on the APU startup right here. Flying a Boeing 777 today, -200ER. We're ready to start closing up the doors here. So this is why we spoke to the purser earlier. Just because the first time I was flying this aircraft, I was wondering why I couldn't really get anything done. But you gotta make contact with the crew. Just like in real life, no pilot would just come in here and say nothing. So let's have her close the doors. So these doors are gonna close. Once that's done, we can get them to armed mode.
All doors to armed mode.
Yes, sir. All doors are armed and checked.
Fantastic. So now let's get the ground crew on the phone so they can close up the hatches, actually remove the ground equipment. Before they do that, let's just make sure the APU is fully functional, which it is. So now we should be able to turn that on up here. Excellent. So now we can have them disconnect ground equipment.
Please disconnect and remove all ground equipment.
Sure.
Perfect. So now that's done, we can have them close up the hatches as well.
Please close all hatches and remove all personnel. We are ready up here.
Pressurized, sir.
Perfect. Please start pressurizing.
Number 112, Papa Juliet, Toronto Terminal, any update on the approach request?
So now that that's done, all hatches are closed up. We are officially powered up ourselves. Bring up the strobe light, and let's get ready for the pushback. Let's push back at our discretion. We'll be running runway 23, so we'll be taking pushback to the right here. Cool little feature they have on the Flight Factor aircraft. We can actually drive the tug ourselves. Actually having some issues with better pushback, so
You are free to set the brakes now.
November 112 Papa Juliet.
Brakes are set.
And November 112 Papa Juliet, is direct boxing okay with you?
Perfect. So now we are driving the tug. We're under the gate. So let's just pull up. It's going to be weird. I'm going to have to drive over this guy. A little bit of breaking the immersion here a bit, but don't have a choice. So once that's done, spin him around. And there's a HUD on the bottom there, so we just got to steer this right into the nose gear. You'll see the white dot pop up. There we go. Just try to get this lined up into the middle. There we go.
Parking brake, please.
So now let's just release the parking brakes here.
Parking
Start
brake
to push
release.
back. We'll start getting
Commencing
our right engine
pushback.
started here. In the meantime, we have to go back out there and push the aircraft. So I'll remember in a sec to go in and bring in fuel. So now that the APU's on, bring the engine page back. Bring out some fuel. You gotta put a lot of torque into this pushback tug just to get the aircraft moving. But we do have her moving. We'll be flying out over here, so we'll be doing a pushback to the right.
November 112 Papa Juliet, you're cleared out of control airspace via the Burlington RNAV runway 32 approach, box and transition. Change local frequency, report down and clear.
Bring on the pumps here. Engines are lighting up.
Local frequency, we'll call you down and clear. November 112 Papa Juliet.
November 615 Lima Juliet, confirm you're intercepting the localizer from Mexico. I see you right of track. Yes, we're going to do a localizer from Mexico for Fallon Juliet.
Oh, the taxiway is actually a bit further back. So.
I'll probably be closing shortly, just for your planning purposes. Roger, Fallon Juliet.
Okay, so let's go back to 118.7 so we can announce our intention on the tower frequency, CTAF. Okay, so while I do this, let's get that second engine going. Bring up the fuel here, and then we'll go outside and make sure the pushback is going well. So we're just about lined up here. We're not exactly right behind our gate, but okay, stop the tug, stop the tug, stop the tug. That will have to do. So let's go back out. Click this button.
Set brakes.
Set brakes. There we go. Brakes set.
Parking brake is set.
Second engine should be coming online just right now. Just now. Want to get those pumps going so that we don't get the low fuel pressure. Now that the brakes are on, we can disconnect the tug. Hand signal. What's this? So now we can drive the tug away. And just like bring it back over there. And then once we disconnect, they're going to take out the pin. We're going to make sure all of our flight controls work. Make sure we have the nose wheel tiller working. So that's far enough for the tug. We're going to come here. We're going to end the process.
Pushback is done.
Thank you.
See the nose
Where
wheel?
is the pin?
I have like another
All clear,
joystick that I
pin
have
is
connected
removed.
to control the nose tiller,
Thank
and you
you.
can see it's still
Up
locked.
you go. Best of luck on your trip.
Nose was back. First, I don't know why that made the speed brakes. That was very weird. It like engaged the reverse thrusters. Did you see that? Okay. So we have engines running. This guy's out of the way. Taxi lights on. Bring the landing lights on. Light this whole thing up like a Christmas tree.
Traffic Canada 1453, clear of 24
You can get the hydraulics fully functional, anti-ice on.
Delta Charlie, Delta Quebec,
Everything else looks pretty good. It's a bit cold here, bring up the heat in the cabin. So the APU, I like to leave that on just in case there's like an engine failure after takeoff. You can restart your engines. So it looks like we're pretty much good to go. We can go ahead and set our takeoff trim, which is 4.5. Just like that. Bring out flap 5. And the altimeter setting here was 2988. Perfect. So it looks like we're all set here. We're going to announce our intentions on the radio. Air Canada 11 Heavy taxiing out to runway 22. Toronto traffic. Okie dokie. So here we go. Looks like the nose gear is running. Let's take the brakes off. And we are moving. So there's no controller really telling us where to fly right now. I mean, where to taxi on the ground, but we will. It's a bit. I'm looking at the map at the same time, so we'll get off the apron here, and we'll taxi Alpha. Just like that. While we're out here, can bring up the flight director's auto throttles for the toga. Whoops. So we're gonna taxi Alpha Hotel. Didn't get a squawk code, so we'll just...
Caution, taxiway. Caution, taxiway.
Okay, so you see here, when you go over like, I think 35 knots or something, 40 knots, you shouldn't really be going this fast on the taxiway. Put a bit of toe brake. Okay, so it's going to be a short flight, short and sweet. Flying to my home city, Montreal. I like to fly in a lot of different places, but to be honest, if you want to roll on Vatsim, it's just those East Coast guys. Those controllers, they game Vatsim like very often. Boston Center is very often online, Toronto Center as well. So, fun fact, the other day I got grilled by ATC because I made the right turn here and went full length. But that is a chunk of taxiway called Quebec, and you actually need clearance to go into Quebec. So, fun fact, if you're flying out of Toronto, don't mess around with this strip right here. So we got a small jet company taking off here. We'll line up and wait behind them. We'll announce our intentions. Air Canada 11 Heavy lining up runway 23. So we'll give a bit of time. I mean, wake turbulence. We're a larger aircraft, but mainly for separation. I don't see anyone on short final, nor did I hear anyone announce their intention, so we're gonna send it. Okay. Let's give this guy a sec. Oh, here we go. ATC. Who's he talking about? Yeah, we're lining up and waiting. Air Canada 0000. Are you on this frequency? Oh, what the hell's going on? Okay. Interesting. I think this guy has no business taking off on that runway. But, okay, well, I think we're good. Let's just squawk like a random number. We didn't get any squawk code. We'll just put 3022 or something. Mode Charlie. Alright, stabilize the engines. Engage toga. I'm gonna steer this with the tiller until we get up to around 80 knots. When enough wind catches the big rudders, we can start to control it with the pedals. So we got 80 knots, 100 knots. It's just about ready here. Push the yoke down just a bit. All right, so let's get airborne. A bit of wind here. Pull up on the yoke, positive rate. We're gonna lift up the gears. You don't want to chase the flight directors too much. You want to trim nose down. Fantastic. So we're gonna fly up here a bit. Just gain a bit of altitude. The approach guys are offline, so we're gonna head over to Unicom 122.8. Whoops. 122.8. There we go. Air Canada 11 Heavy, Toronto traffic. We're airborne from runway 23. We're gonna clear ourselves to Savor shortly. Perfect. So we're climbing up here. We're looking good. Aircraft is almost trimmed. So we can bring the autopilot up here. And we're going to engage LNAV mode. And we're going to wrap directly to Savor. What does that look like? Are we able to fly there? Aircraft should start. Sharp left turn. Looks good. We're going to bring up the flaps so we don't overspeed. And the auto throttles are going to taper off as we're climbing to 5,000, which was our initial cleared altitude.
Canada 350, passing through Xavier right now at 10,000.
Whoops, we're going to bring up the flaps. Okie dokie, so we could be cleared in steps, but ATC just logged off. We're gonna start our climb. So let's start our climb here. Once we get to 10,000, we'll increase our climb rate to 280 knots. So we're going up to flight level 330. Aircraft's on a climb here. It's going to pitch up quite a bit at 250 knots initially. Once we hit 10,000, we'll taper down. In Canada, I think you can't do 250 knots under 10,000 feet. $33,000. Excellent. So let's just leave that there. Aircraft seems to be performing the way it should. So let's bring up those landing lights that we don't need anymore. Engines seem to be doing well. I'm going to shut down the APU. Seatbelt signs, all that stuff should remain on. Purser is giving us a call.
Captain here.
Sir, we are ready back here. The briefing has been completed and all is secured.
View of Toronto here, Xplane12 on high graphics. It's the highest settings you can achieve in 4K. Okay, so that's that. We have another call from the purser. I guess I just let them queue up.
What would you like?
Captain, just wanted to let you know that we are ready and the briefing has been completed.
We're a bit late for the briefing. Downtown Toronto. Well, downtown's more that way, I think, but excellent. So let's hit them with the PA. Welcome.
Ladies and gentlemen, I, the captain, would like to welcome you on board this Flight Factor aircraft. My first officer and I...
Just like that. Perfect. So, bit of a wide turn here, but we're still on the profile. I like to bring up the approach mode here and watch the ILS on the first officer side since there is no first officer. just to make sure the aircraft, it's still a beta here, so I just want to make sure it doesn't do anything wonky. I'm just going to reset that. It's one of the best aircrafts I've flown, Flight Factor. They're doing a great job with this 777. Right now the VNAV is still inoperative. They're working on it. There's updates that are being released pretty much weekly, and when you load Xplane they tell you when the updates are there, so you can go into another software that they have and then just make sure you keep the aircraft up to date. But the models are just beautifully textured. I'll probably make another stream just to check out the cabin. It's pretty luxe back there. You can go have a little tour. I need to get that that other function there. It's really wonky to move around. There we go. This is modeled pretty beautifully here. Look at that. They even have this modeled where you can set up like a passcode to get into the cockpit that you can change from the FMC. Pretty impressive. Look at this. This is not where the peasants sit. Look at that. They've done a great job with this, to say the least. Let's just go all the way back. I'm still a bit new here. I'm going to program some views here so we can just get back here really quick. This aircraft is just really like never ending. Beautiful. Perfect. So we're going to transfer to a standard biro at this altitude. We're going to accelerate the aircraft to 280 knots. It's going to pitch the profile down a bit, but still have a very nice climb. Yeah, that's on a standard. Excellent. So everything is looking pretty good. Montreal center is telling.
What's your cruising altitude?
Air Canada 11. We're 23,000 to 33,000. Oh, what's your airspeed? You're in front of me. I'm tracking dead key.
Mach right now is 0.68, and I'm currently passing flight level 240.
I'm passing 240.66. Do you want to climb higher or lower, or do you want me to?
I'll maintain flight level 310. You can go up to 350.
Roger, thank you for advising. I still don't have you in sight, but maybe I will soon. So that was the guy that was on the runway earlier, I think in the 737 or something. Which is not a slow aircraft. I mean, maybe I didn't leave enough time separation. That's why air traffic controller is a good tool to have, but Vatsim community is pretty cool in the sense where, you know, even if ATC's offline, everyone's kind of looking out for each other anyways. The outside it's pretty loud. I don't know. I'll look back after and see if I need to reduce the volume for this. All right. So we still don't have him in sight, but we're going to climb 2,000 feet higher than him, so we should be okay. Tracking dead key, 10 nautical miles off, Migloo transition. It's a short flight, so we'll probably start briefing the the arrival soon. It moves slow at the beginning, but it moves fast at the end. That's how it goes. We'll see what kind of approach we're going to get from the controller over in Montreal. So everything looks good. $29,000 feet going to 23. Looking just fine here. Aircraft is performing very well. The lock failed ever since 9/11. Now you really have to make sure you're locking the cockpit. And then somewhere in here you can even set the password. I haven't really even gotten into that yet. I've only been flying this aircraft for a few months now. Flight Factor V2. It's really a great piece of equipment, I'll say. I know there's that other 777, the Dash 300. I haven't tried it. I was flying a lot of Zibo before this, and also a 747 that was like really not study level, but still pretty fun to fly. The name of the company's not coming to me right now. And the Kalamata Concorde. I had a phase, was obsessed with the Concorde. Should do a few more Concorde flights. I haven't done some in a while. But ever since I got into this Flight Factor, it's like I'm ready to build an entire cockpit around this build. Right now, I have got this connected up to a Honeycomb Bravo with some custom parts from Etsy. There, like 1-to-1 ratio throttles that fit onto the Bravo with the flaps and the speed brake lever. I'm running the Logitech rudder pedals, just like a random Logitech joystick for the nose gear tiller, and the yoke. I want to upgrade it to the Thrustmaster Boeing yoke, but for now I'm just using I think this is like Cytec or Logitech or something like that. Excellent. So we're at cruising. Seatbelt signs off. If you want to do everything by the book, make a PA here.
We are currently cruising at our assigned altitude. The weather outside is acceptable and we should make our destination at just about the scheduled time. I hope you are enjoying your flight on this
progress
Flight
page.
Factor aircraft.
Everything looks just fine. Perfect. So now that we're officially 2,000 feet above the slower aircraft ahead of us, we're in cruise. You can speed up to basically just under the overspeed. Then we can have a look to see if there's a tailwind, make sure we don't get pushed over into the red. But then we should be fine. Plenty of time to slow down. Whoops, forgot to start the clock. Not a huge deal. So everything here looks pretty good. Maybe a bit chilly back there. We'll be restarting the APU once we start our descent in case anything goes wrong close to the ground. When you're low and you're slow, you don't take chances. And also it just saves time when we get to the gate. We could keep the aircraft running while we shut down the engines. And then we need to call up ground in the computer before we can get anything connected to the plane. So if we want people to start getting off, it's good to have that APU running so we can keep the systems going. Otherwise, you're just kind of sitting at the gate waiting for your APU to come on. Not sure how much of this you guys actually see. The screen might be a bit dark. Probably doing some flights, some daytime flights over the weekend. I try to get as much Vatsim coverage as I can, just because it's fun. But unfortunately, I'm a bit new to streaming, so I've been like tweaking settings and like trying to get things going. So by the time I had everything ready, the event was like nearing its end. So some of the controllers had already logged off. When we get closer to Montreal, it looks like there's an approach guy logged in, as well as a center and a tower and a ground delivery. So might even set up a second flight then out of Montreal after perhaps see how close we are to his airspace and might just change the radios up. Okay, we're still just a little bit ways away from Montreal Center. But yeah, beautiful night. We're running real weather in 4K and real time, real weather. Whoops. Take a little hit of oxygen. Drink this guy's coffee. Amazing. And it fills up in the bag here. They got everything kind of covered in this aircraft, from like even little details. Now that the coffees are all gone, we might get a call from the purser. She can offer us another coffee. We can ask her for an in-flight meal. So we're cruising at 0.88 right now, which is kind of fast for a 777, to be honest. I don't think they would run it to the line here. I think normal cruise speed is around 0.78, maybe 0.82 in some situations. But we're gonna fly it at 0.88 just to, you know, blast through the sky a bit. We're doing 562 knots across the ground. Not that slow, if you put it in perspective. So we're coming up to our transition shortly. Niglu, top of descent, will follow shortly after. It's a bit wonky there. So whoa, I'm struggling here. This is what's happening outside right now. Everything is looking just right. We could grab the ATIS in Montreal. There's a problem. I pressed that key. It wasn't supposed to go that far. Alright, so is there an ATIS up in Montreal? There is 133.7. So let's get that in the radio.
CYUL, S runway 24 right and ILS runway 24 left. Landing IFR runway 24 right and 24 left and VFR runway 24 left. Departing IFR and VFR runway 24 left. Taxiway BSIX closed until further advised. Migratory bird activity, where parallel runways are in use. Simultaneous instrument approaches and simultaneous visual approaches to parallel runways are in effect. Runway 1028 is now taxiway Charlie. Inform ATC that you have information. Zulu.
Information Zulu.
Montreal information Zulu. Weather is 0200 Zulu. 1260 at 12. Visibility 15 miles. Ceiling 6,000 broken. Temperature 3. Dew point -3. Altimeter 2986. Approach IL. S runway 24 right and ILS runway 24 left.
The rest of that.
Landing IFR runway 24 right.
Alright, so the key information there is that they're running ILS on 24 right and 24 left for company, and the wind at 260 at 12, temperature 3, altimeter setting 2986. So we'll set that up, and then when we get out of standard barrel, we'll configure it onto our electronic systems. So what did I say it was? 2986. Fantastic. So here we are, right on the edge. Everything else is looking pretty good. Really nothing to do in the FMC at this point. Should be getting close to Montreal Center, so let's tune in. Maybe we get some funny content. ATC's been on edge recently. Every day someone's getting chewed out. Montreal Center. Did they just go offline? What a shame, huh? Every time we got close, Oh, whatever. It's a testing stream. No big deal. ATC's gotta sleep early, right? So we're looking good. We're gonna have to manage the descent ourselves. Not a big deal. Top of descent is coming up. So yeah, just started out streaming mainly because I've been flying Xplane for a long time on let's just say an older system, so I could barely even get the sim running, forget about high graphics 4K or streaming. But decided to upgrade the rig and get a bit more serious, so ordered a 4080 Super. I was gonna get the 9800 X3D, the new CPU by AMD, but it was like instantly sold out on day one, so I went with something reliable, which is the 7800 X3D. No complaints. I set that up on an RG Strix X670E Wi-Fi motherboard, 64 gigs of Trident RGB RAM, and then I got the whole setup running on 4 terabytes M2 with a Corsair power supply, 1000 watts. In one of those new cases, I kind of like this brand. I think it's NXZT or NZXT, not too sure. High Flow or something like that. I like it. It comes with like the same company makes like the plug and play liquid cooling. So I'm running all this on like max, and the temps are really good. I'm running really good temps. 150 or under. The GPU, even though it's a beast, it does still like everything is fluid. There's no lag at all. Everything's running perfectly. But it does run up to like 80-90% of the GPU on a 4080. So I'm displaying this on a 55-inch like LED TV in 4K. So I think that's the main reason. I would have loved to do triple TV, but it seems like just with my old monitors on triple, it was working, but you could tell it was starting to struggle. I think if you'd run like 3 large TVs, you'd need probably at least two computers, 2 expensive computers at that. But again, I'm not really that savvy when it comes to putting machines together to, you know, make 2 computers run graphics on a single machine or on a single simulator. I've seen it done. I've seen some videos. I know that for advanced cockpits, you do need that type of stuff. I'm still trying to build my stuff up slowly. Got the computer, some radios, some throttles. Gonna upgrade the yoke soon. It's looking good. It's looking good. Gonna try to stream a bit more, but yeah, aside from that, looks gorgeous. Not much to see, not a lot of stars tonight, but still a nice night. So we're at 7 nautical miles off Migloo, and then from there we'll be 11 nautical miles off Redo. Our heading. I like to bring, even if we're not flying on heading mode, it's always good practice to align this with the waypoint or wherever you're flying. So in the box it says Migloo 70, heading 70. Just put that in the box. If ever something happens or autopilot gets disconnected or something weird happens and then ATC is talking to you and then you're panicking, it's always good to have this heading mode set up, so then you can just re-engage autopilot, get off LNAV, go into heading mode. Aircraft will essentially continue to fly in a straight line, and then you can troubleshoot and do what you got to do until you can get back on track. That way you don't go off track, and then you got the guys on Vatsim ATC basically cussing you out because you're 5 miles off the line. No, I'm kidding. I don't want to talk too much smack on the Vatsim guys. It's really nice to have such a network for for flying, you know. I think nowadays there's a lot of like virtual AI ATC where they'll kind of do the same job, but I don't think it compares. I don't think it's as good as literally a guy, a human, like role playing as an air traffic controller. And they're serious too. You can't just walk into Vatsim. There's some tests that you gotta pass. You gotta join the community for the area when you want to be a controller in. It's something definitely to be respected. So some guys sim as a pilot, others are simming as ATC. I would assume anybody who's like doing, I don't want to say working at Vatsim or providing services at Vatsim as an ATC controller, most likely also flies planes. I'd be pretty surprised if he was doing like it's only ATC, but maybe, you never know. So we are ready for top of descent. We actually just went a bit past it. They're asking us for 26,000 feet in 60 nautical miles. Probably going to be a bit higher, but no big deal. Let's talk to this guy. Air Canada. Oh shit. I think he was trying to talk to me at the same time. Oh, no, that was funny. I got COM 1 and COM 2 tuned to the exact same frequency. So let's just randomize this. Air Canada, that was ahead of me. This is Air Canada 11. I just wanted to let you know I'm starting my descent. I'm looking at you on the map, though. I think you're pretty much not anywhere close to me at this point. Oh, wait. Hold on. 1, 2, 2, 3. Okay. What's his call sign? I'm not even sure. Just want to be courteous, let him know what's going on. But it's really no big deal. So, let's get out of cruise. So what we're going to do is we're going to slow down the aircraft maybe just a bit. Even if you've got the auto throttles on, there's a chance with the wind that if you're flying it so close, you could initiate a descent and the aircraft will overspeed itself, even if everything is set up. So on the Bravo, the knob, it takes forever to get out, so let's just initiate a bit of a descent and then we'll keep the knob going. The next big number in the box, 240 or below, so let's aim for that. Honestly, I'm not even mad that the VNAV isn't ready on this beta version of the Flight Factor 777. Even on other aircraft where VNAV is functional, I kind of like to, you know, eyeball my descent from the box and see the art of flying. It is in essence. I mean, VNAV is good, like when you're doing like long flights, you need to step away for a bit maybe, but I do like to fly if the weather's nice, even if I'm cleared for an ILS or an RNAV. Once I'm on final, I like to grab the sticks and put her down yourself. That's what you're supposed to do as a pilot. And then I still like to practice the instrument approaches when the weather was like zero visibility. It's obviously nice to be able to simulate all that. And we're blessed to have such advanced simulators nowadays. Look at this. It actually feels like we're there. So aircraft's descending. I'm going to try to go down without using any speed brake. We played it really safe today. Sometimes I just take the auto throttles off and just like wall the throttles and just like really climb fast. But today we pretty much played it by the butt. At Mach 11 nautical miles, they want 240 below 305 knots. 350. No one's really gonna grill you for this. Sometimes they'll be like, Air Canada 11, slow down a bit, but this is not like a gross abuse, of speed, especially at this altitude. There, you wouldn't want this at under 10,000 feet. But even if there was ATC online, I don't think they would even say anything, unless there's aircraft like very close by. and if the guy in front can't speed up, they'll usually ask us to slow down. The philosophy in flying, I'm pretty sure, is like you want to be able to fly the aircraft as fast as it can, as far as the envelope and its limits. So now we're just tracking Mach, heading 81. Looks like we're a little bit high on the profile. Let's keep her descending. 2-4 below. Can drop the speed brakes a bit. Since we're already at 315 knots, it's going to cancel some of the lift. You can see the nose actually pitching down a bit more. We're actually losing altitude a bit faster. So we're basically 24 below at Mach. We're definitely within limits here. So that sound came in saying that we're pretty much going to be, we're still on the speed brake. I'm going to bring the speed brake back. Don't really need it. Perfect. So we want to keep the descent going. The next number in the box, 16,000 or below. So let's get that ready. There we go, voila. Since it was already close to 24, I don't think it's going to continue descending. Got to hit that flight level change button again, and we should have the aircraft going down. Once we get to Habs, to Como, that's when we're really going to slow her down. We're getting close now. Excellent. So what we could do while we're in descent, everything looks pretty stabilized. We should have brought the passenger seatbelt sign back up before. Let's get the APU back on. Everything else here looks pretty good. I'm not going to touch anything. And then when we get close on short final, we'll bring the lights on. So what we can do now, we already got the ATIS. Once we get the local altimeter, we already got that from the ATIS before. How are we looking on the descent? In 10 nautical miles, they want 16,000 or below. We could pull up speed brakes just to get down a bit. We don't want to leave for too long, but in the meantime, let's have a look. Let's brief the approach. Oh. We'll come back. I think ATC's online. Please contact me on 132.85. 132.85.
Canada 281 Heavy Montreal departures, good evening, and that's a 5 for the next time. Montreal 4 departures, states runway heading 5,000, maintain climb 7,000, continue on course.
This guy's got the grilled.
7,000, continue on course for Canada 281.
Perfect, so we're ready to go into local altimeter. Information was Zulu, I think, 2986. Let's talk to the controller. In Montreal Terminal, Air Canada 11 Heavy, we're with you on the descent. Didn't know anyone was online. We're going to be 16,000 or below at Habs.
Air Canada 11 Montreal arrivals, good evening. Squawk 4273.
Sorry, Squawk 4273?
4203.
4203 on the transponder for Air Canada 11 Heavy. Okay, let's keep the descent going.
Air Canada 16.
Next number in the box, 9,000.
Lower for you in about 2 miles. Air Canada 41, Roger.
Cool.
Air Canada 11 Heavy, that's the 5 Montreal altimeter 2985. That's the information Alpha. Expect the ILS runway 24 right, descent 8,000, speed 250 knots.
Air Canada 11 Heavy, we will expect the ILS on runway 24 right. We're descending to 8,000 and we're actually slowing down to 250 right now. Thank you. Okay, so let's do as he says. Let's bring the speed brakes back. We might not need them all the way. Descend, he said descend 8,000.
1641, descend 4,000.
Descend 4,000, again.
Flight level change.
Canada 281 heavy, climb 16,000.
Let's pull out the speed brake again just to bleed off the speed. Once we get to 250, we'll retract it. So we're cleared ILS 24 right, so perfect time. So this I think is the Mirabel Airport, and we're probably on the downwind. Let's see. Yeah, exactly. Mirabel, Montreal, Trudeau.
Thank you very
So
much.
he said it was the
Unicom, Canada 247.
ILS 24 right from final. Let's have a look at the chart. So it's pretty straightforward.
Canada 350, I see you leaving the stars,
We're
everything
gonna
okay?
fly to Maxon. Then there's a vector plugged into the box depending. If there's not busy, he'll clear us to Lona direct. And then from Lona, they're saying 3,000. And then we'll just go capture the localizer. And then the glide slope is going to be available from Bolax. They're asking us for 1520 at Bolax. So that's a pretty straightforward approach here. We're looking good. So if we get any slower, we'll start bringing out some flaps. Zooming on the map here. ILS is programmed. The heading at Como is 72. Let's keep that aligned. Oops.
16.1, maintain 190 knots or better for them.
190 faster per hour, Canada 1641.
Canada 16.1, descend 3,000.
Descend 3,000, Canada.
Bring the speed brakes back up.
Montreal departure gate, meeting Air Canada 730.
How are we looking on the profile?
500.
8 miles, 9,000.
Montreal departures, good
Looking
evening.
good.
Canada 5. Climb level 230, maintain runway heading.
Flight level 230, maintain runway heading Air Canada 730.
Beautiful city of Montreal. So we'll fly the downwind here, like we looked onto the map.
Foxtrot 2,
And we'll be
Culture 2,
cleared.
Foxtrot X-ray with you, passing through 1,000.
So we'll adjust heading 56.
02 Foxtrot
There we go.
X-ray, Montreal departures, good evening. Identify, climb 16,000 for now.
167.
We can ask the purser to get the passengers ready.
What can I do?
Canada 11 heavy, speed your discretion.
Kind of 11 heavy, speed at my discretion, Roger. I mean, I don't see the need. We're basically right on the
Canada
profile.
1641 heading 150 vectors for the approach.
We could definitely speed up a bit.
Heading
We can
150
bleed that
or
speed off pretty
1641.
quickly after.
Canada 350 descend 4,000.
And go 280 knots. We'll say speed at your discretion. Ideally, if it's not too busy, they do want to get aircraft on the ground as quickly as they can. Especially those like late night cargo flights and stuff. Speed at your discretion, climb at your discretion, climb without restriction, etc. So I remember I'd done this before.
Canada 11 descend 4,000.
4,000 for Air Canada 11.
Canada 1641 heading 21050 to descend to Dallas approach runway 24 right.
Heading 210 for the intercept 50 ILS 24 right, Air Canada
Excellent.
41.
So we'll be heading 56 on the downwind. Then we will set up runway heading at some point. He's going to probably send us on a vector, and then we'll click this approach button to intercept the ILS. Easy peasy. I think the missed approach altitude was 5,000, so once we're on the glide slope, we will set that up in case we need to do a go-round. And
Canada 730, proceed direct falls on course.
Direct falls on course, Air Canada 730.
bring up the airport map.
02 Foxtrot X-ray, climb flight level 230.
230 for 2 Foxtrot X-ray.
Canada 16.1, maintain 160 knots, Sorbello to Volax. Contact Tower 1199.
Some traffic over there.
160 better to Volax and Tower 119.9, Air Canada's 1841, bonsoir.
This guy's flying straight towards us.
Canada 350 descend 3000 heading 150.
Probably way lower. It's looking good. He said go down to 4,000. 4,000 or below in 8 nautical miles. Should be good. So you see, this is much funner than just like clicking do nav, like watching a movie or something. Perfect. So let me get the landing calculations ready so we know what to do. Wind 230, 10, outside temperature 3, QNH 2. So 24 right. Actual landing distance is 7,206 feet. Okay. So we could run 1 on the speed brake. We're a flat 30 landing. And we will be using full reverse thrust, and we'll just roll out to the end using minimal amounts of toe braking. You don't want to brake too much, because if you heat up your brakes, a lot of flights are on short turnarounds where like by the time the passengers deplane, they're already like setting up a new flight. New passengers are boarding, and if you use too many toe brakes, if you brake too hard, then the brakes need to cool down actually. And they actually have that sim as well. I had to cancel. I remember once something went wrong with the toga, and I had to abort a takeoff like halfway down the runway. Had to use a lot of brakes, and then I taxied back to the gate, and then I set up my aircraft again, and then the brakes were too hot. I had like a warning. I had like a warning here saying like the brakes were hot. So what are we looking at? We're at 4,000. We're basically right on the profile. We could slow down. We could start slowing down the aircraft here. Let's give it 210 knots.
Okay, 350, speed 160 knots until Alnov. Clear for the LS approach, runway 24 left.
160 knots until, I'm sorry? Avuvi?
That's 350.
Avnov? We don't have that in the bus.
350, speed 160 knots until Alnov. Clear for the LS approach, runway 24 left. Speed 160 to Alnov.
Okay, that's not even us.
Clear for the ILS, 24 left, Canada 350. Air Canada 11 heavy, speed, heading 150 vectors for the approach, descend 3000.
Heading 150 vectors for the approach, descending 3,000. So let's just get the aircraft down to 3,000, and this is the vector that we were waiting for. So we didn't fly the vector for long. He wants us to do 150, so what we do is we're gonna see how that's intersecting final. So he said 150. Whoops, sorry. Whoops. Heading select. And now the aircraft is not flying on LNAV mode, it's now flying on heading mode. And we're just gonna set this up. He said fly 150. We'll hit approach. As we get close, the runway is gonna align here, and the localizer radio frequency will align itself. So we're cleared for the ILS. So let's bring Lona back into the mix. And they want like 170 knots, so let's reduce speed to like 190. Bring out a notch of flaps.
Delta 42, Montreal departures, good evening.
Is the localizer getting captured? We might need to... Yeah, let's just... Not intersecting that. Okay. We're gonna bring out...
heading 270 for the interceptor down at approach runway 24 right.
Sorry, can you repeat?
11 heading 210 for the intercept. Clear the ILS approach runway 24 right.
210 for the intercept, cleared ILS 24 right. Thank you very much, Air Canada 11. Let's bring out another notch of flaps. We are cleared. The aircraft is beginning to capture the localizer, it will straighten itself out. Runway heading is 350. So here you see it says localizer. So now we're free to move the heading bar again. Let's move the heading, just line that up with the runway. Excellent. Now let's slow down the aircraft, 170 knots. So now, as you can see, the localizer is getting captured and we'll be descending and we'll be intercepting the glide slope from below, which is what you're supposed to do. We'll continue to slow down the aircraft.
Air Canada 11, contact tower 1199 avec one.
Thank you very much. Contacting tower 119.9 Air Canada 11 Heavy. So let's contact tower
Delta 42 Montreal Center is offline, so it's
119.9.
North ramp, Xplane, connect.
Perfect. So let's bring out another notch of flaps.
Xplane and North ramp for Air Canada 1641.
Montreal Tower, Air Canada 11 Heavy with you on short final. We are about to hit Volax in about 8 miles.
Air Canada 11 Heavy, Montreal Tower, good evening. What's 250 at 10, you're number 2 behind, 320 short final. Cleared to land, runway 248.
Roger, number 2, cleared to land 24 right for Canada 11 Heavy. Very good. So we'll maintain 170 knots to Volax. Once we get to Volax, which is right here, 6 nautical miles, the glide slope should come alive, which is this triangle here with this diamond. Locked on the localizer, glide slope should always be intercepted after. You see that plane crash that just happened yesterday, actually. If you check the Blanco Lirio channel, he covers that stuff. It's a UPS flight from Germany to Lithuania that crashed just 1 mile off of the runway. It was in the period of circadian low where it's very difficult. Pilots are really fatigued around those hours in the morning, but it almost seems like they were coming in hot. They overshot the last turn onto final and then came back and caught the glide slope before the localizer. I mean, the data's not out yet, but they think that it might have been one of the reasons. So fully stabilized, bring out landing gear. Excellent. And when we get to Volax, we'll drop the speeds. We'll go down to like our landing flap configuration, and then I'm actually gonna fly the approach by hand because the weather is nice. We'll disengage the autopilot and the auto throttle.
There again, 1641. It's okay if we hold here for 1 minute. We just want to try a new setting here. See some more.
1,000 flight slow.
Yeah, sure. Well,
Seems like we're a bit far to be at 1,000.
Flight slow.
Definitely a bit high. That is a bit weird.
Flight slow.
So the aircraft should probably shouldn't be descending any more than this.
Flight slow.
Let's see what it does because it's still a beta. So I want to see if the aircraft actually flies the instrument approach well. I do mostly visual approaches. I know they said the VNAV had struggled with the VNAV and the vertical profile, so maybe it also affects the glide slope. Like 800 feet, we're still like extremely far from the runway. So yeah, what we're gonna do is we're gonna remove the auto throttles because if we fly this approach, we're gonna crash. Get the autopilot off.
Flight slow.
So we got, it's my aircraft now. Bring out some gas. Just keep her flying. We're gonna set landing flaps. We're just gonna try to stay locked on the localizer.
Flight slow.
We're looking good here. We're gonna arm the speed brakes. We're gonna bring out the landing lights, the taxi lights.
Slow.
Basically right on the localizer,
Flight slow.
right on the money. I'm gonna start to slow down the aircraft here.
Flight slow.
We want a touchdown speed around 137 knots reference.
Flight slow. 500.
So the flaps are fully retracted.
Flight slow.
A bit low here. So I'm gonna pull up. Give gas.
Flight slow.
Don't be afraid to fly the plane on final.
Flight slow.
Clearly we're having an issue with the ILS here, so.
Flight slow.
Okay, so we're drifting off a bit right. I'm going to make some corrections
Flight slow.
before we get too close. We are cleared to land.
Flight slow.
Approaching our ref. We're basically within limits. We're about to intercept the localizer. Landing gear down, check. Speed brakes, check. Everything looks
300.
pretty good. Looks like we're going to be right on the threshold here. Pull the engines back as we get close. Just going to clear the ILS antenna.
200.
It's a bit of wind. We're going to use a bit of rudder to stay onto the center line.
Approaching minimums.
Okay, peel back.
100.
We're going to float for a bit
Sink
here.
rate. Sink rate.
10.
30.
Get the nose down. Could have been worse. I'm going to engage reverse thrust. We're on the ground in Montreal. Haven't touched the toe brakes at all. Can we get off here? It's going to be tight, but let's try it. So at this speed, we can get our feet off the pedals, and we can just fly with the nose wheel tiller. So here we're going to hold short, and we'll speak to the ground controller if there is a ground controller. There we have it. So that's what you do. You get off the runway, put your parking brakes on, and then buddies should tell us where to taxi. Can retract the flaps, check the speakers.
11, have a gate number.
Yeah, gate number 65 if possible.
Sorry, was that at 55?
Sorry, let me just double check here. I think it was 65, but I might be wrong. Let me check. Just looking at
65 works for me. It's just like I wasn't able to hear you properly, but 65 works for me. That's the question.
Excellent. Yeah, I'll take that. Let me know where you want me to taxi. I could take Bravo 4 if you want.
Canada 11. Yes, you have amazing prediction skills. Taxi via Bravo 4, and the Southbound 265. Have a wonderful evening.
I appreciate it. Merci beaucoup. Air Canada 11 Heavy.
I'm sorry.
All right. He said we had amazing prediction skills. This is my hometown. I actually live not too far away from this airport. So we're going to get onto Bravo, which is this. I like taking gate. I usually don't have a gate preference when I'm flying into airports. Just Montreal, sometimes I'll queue up a lot here, get off the ground quick with no ATC, and then fly to the place where there's coverage, if there's none here. And then quite often we're flying the runway in the opposite direction that we just landed, so the taxi is very short from that gate.
Air Canada 5,
If we get any faster than this, we'll get the alert. So when the flight's done, you know, you can reset your flight directors. We already have our APU on. So as soon as we get to the gate, we can turn the engines off and then call the ground team, have them plug the aircraft in, and then ask, holy crap, are we cleared to, oh yeah, this runway is actually now a taxiway. It was in the ATIS. And in real life as well in Montreal, they've been doing repairs for years, and then they ended up just never reactivating this runway and just turning it into a taxiway, which makes sense. It was really close to the apron, and I guess it was slowing down ops in general. So he said west apron, I think. So we're making a right turn. And our gate It was right here on the corner. .65. Actually, we just overshot it. Steer that nose wheel. Hit the brakes a bit, coming in a bit hot for the gate. There you go. Just like that. Beautiful Montreal. So what you want to do, parking brake up, engines off, and turn these lights off. Some people are sleeping over there in the terminal. It's quite abrasive. This off. There we go. Anti-ice off. Might do another flight, don't know. So I'll leave the engine, I'll leave some things on. Turn the fuel pumps off. All this can stay on, the lights are off. We can leave the air on, APU on, generators on. Hydraulics off. I still have a bit of hydraulics. Nope, they're done now. Cool. So everything's good. Auto brakes back to off. Drink the first officer's coffee. And then now, the last thing you do if you really want to bag this up like a real life experience.
Please invite the passengers to deplane.
Passengers will unload now.
Excellent. So now we can call up ground, get them to set up the shocks, and to set us up with ground power.
Hello, this is the captain.
We are all here and ready.
Perfect. So when you come into here, oops, ground, have them connect to shocks, air conditioning.
What can I bring you?
Catering, lab, water.
Sure.
And then loader, transport, fuel trucks, loader. We don't need any gear service or any hydraulics. Aircraft was, I guess, maintained recently. She flew super well. I have nothing to say, nothing to leave in the logs. So we're looking just fine. Everything is connected and plugged. At this point, what we could do is we can turn off the APU to save fuel until we're ready to set up a new flight. So I should be back online shortly, but for now, thank you very much for whoever tuned in. We're just getting started out here on the stream, but there's going to be a lot more of this, so stay tuned.